What's going on, chat? Hope everybody's doing hope everybody's having a good night. Doing okay. Let me know if you all can hear me good. Sound check, make sure everything's coming through on your all's end. Card Nation 84, tell me something good so I can forget about basketball. So we're going to try to do. Derek, what's up? What a day, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, indeed. Brohm was indeed cooking. We'll give it a couple minutes. Let some people hop in. Then we'll go ahead and get started. Appreciate the thumbs up. Good to know that the sound's doing well. Good to excuse me. Sure, drop some comments, some thoughts, some questions. We lit LL. What's going on, man? Nice to see you in. Nice to see you in here. Derek seems to feel pretty strongly about Pat Kelsey. We will discuss that at the end of the show. We're going to talk about the good news first. But give it one more minute. Let more people tune in. Colston, what's up, brother? Doing all right? Don't talk about Louisville basketball. I've got to at the end of the show. Look, we gotta have a conversation. I left the Yum Center feeling pretty dejected, truthfully. But I'll explain a little bit more. Don't worry. What's going on? Give it like 30 more seconds. So we're going to go ahead and get started because there is a lot to discuss, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to discuss all of the commitments in the short amount of time that we have, but wouldn't want it any other way. So make sure I got my sponsorship reads ready to go, and we'll hop on in. All right, here we go. There were some questions heading into the offseason about how Louisville was going to address the trenches. And, well, 8 commitments later on Tuesday, I think we found some answers. We'll break it down on today's show.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this live edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Vince. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Of course, Locked On Louisville, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. And I don't even have to explain it to you all because you know what happened on Tuesday. There's a lot to discuss. And unfortunately, we will break down Louisville's depressing, rough, frustrating, whatever adjective you want to use, loss to Duke. And we will discuss remember LeBron in South Beach when he got to Miami? Not 1, not 2, not 3. I'm not going to go that far. Louisville had 8 portal commitments on Tuesday. 8. What a day it was. If you had questions about the trenches, seems like some of the answers have popped up on Tuesday. So we'll break it down in the next 2 segments. Be sure to leave those comments in the comments section, some questions you all have. Appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to start out on offense. And like I said, there were a bunch of questions about, well, yeah, you bring in a quarterback and you bring in running backs, but what about the trenches? When is Louisville going to address the offensive line, which was a huge issue in 2025? and they added 3 on Tuesday alone. We're going to start out with the pass catchers, though, because those were the late commitments. And honestly, the best portal prospect that they've added so far is 4-star transfer Brody Foley from Tulsa, tight end from Tulsa. He's ranked as one of the top tight ends in the portal. I think automatically Louisville has upgraded their tight ends room today. You lost a couple players, right? Nate Kariski transfers, but you bring in a guy like Brody Foley. Don't want to be prisoner of the moment here, but Foley is the most talented tight end that Brohm has had at Louisville. Complete playmaker. Louisville beat out Notre Dame head-to-head for this commitment. All AAC caliber guy. 37 catches, 528 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Like, this is a difference maker. And I know that there are questions about, well, why do we still see the tight end position not utilized as much? And truthfully, I think you're going to see that change. I think you're going to see Jeff Brohm kind of go back to how he operated at Purdue and Western Kentucky, operating with multiple tight ends. And Brody Foley is a huge addition at the tight end spot. They also got a commitment from Justin Reed from Tulane. Now, he's more of a, I think, Nate Kariski replacement, solid blocker, but when you have him running routes, he's got good hands. He's got a good catch radius as well. But Brody Foley is your playmaker. He's the guy that you can put into the game plan in multiple different ways. You can throw him out wide. There have been times where Tulsa threw the ball to him on screen passes, and he made plays with his legs. And Foley is, 6'5", 260 is what I saw. So the tight end adjustment, or the way that Louisville's going to adjust their game plan to feature the tight end, I think it's going to change a little bit. Might not show as much in the box score, but I think it is going to change. That room got upgraded today alone. Not to mention you bring in Julius Miles, who everyone's talking about. My gosh, this is a large human being. You've seen the pictures that he's standing next to other recruits, and it's like, bro, this guy is a walking mismatch. And you have Jewel Skinner coming back too. Babu says, will we be hearing about several wide receivers soon, as early as tomorrow? But the offensive line is the main part of the first segment. The Cardinals got not 1, not 2, but 3 potential starters, and not guys that you talk yourself into. These are 3 starting level guys. And it starts out with Boston College interior offensive lineman Eric Darty, who, I don't know if you all saw this. Last night on 24/7 Sports on Monday night, he was ranked as a top 55 recruit, the number 2 IOL. And just a little bit before he commits to Louisville, he all of a sudden drops 100 spots in the rankings. And you wonder, well, why could this be? You're telling me that these rankings can be political? No shot. Darty is one of the best interior offensive linemen in the ACC. Had a good season for Boston College. I was told by their beat writer that he's pretty solid in pass pro. He struggled against the elite defensive lines that he went up against, Notre Dame being one of those. 6'2", 295. He and Lance Robinson, who is coming back as well, were top 10 in the ACC this year for interior offensive lineman PFF grades. I think PFF is a good metric. It's not the metric, right? But Darty's going to be able to come in and start at one of those guard spots. And it's probably as close to a surefire thing as you can get. He already understands the level of play that you're going to play. Louisville also got some commitments from some non-Power 4 players. Delaware tackle Anwar O'Neal committed early evening, 6'3", 250. He was all Colonial Athletic Association honorable mention this past year, multiple year guy for Delaware. Now, watching the film there, I don't know if it's left or right tackle, but it would surprise me if he's not starting at one of the tackle spots. Possibly right tackle. I've seen him listed at 6'5" and not 6'3". It's going to be interesting to see what he measures out at. And then there's Georgia State, Johnny Brown. And Johnny Brown is a tackle currently, but I think he has a skill set that could see him kick inside to play guard. 6'3", 315. He was third team all Sun Belt. I think you're sort of seeing Louisville draw a page out of the Indiana playbook. And that is going out and getting proven production on the offensive line. That's what you need. Credit to the Cardinals for identifying what went wrong this season. There were a couple things. It's not just one thing. What went wrong this season? The offensive line was a big part of why they struggled offensively. So what did they do? They bring Lance Robinson back. They go get 3 starting caliber players. I don't think that they're done. Revelation says we still need a center. Yes, we do. And I would love it if the Cardinals could get a commitment from Pittsburgh center Lyndon Cooper, because that would be a huge, huge addition to this offensive line. So the offensive additions are great. You've added Marquise Davis. You've added 2 tight ends, 3 offensive linemen. Those concerned about the wide receiver spot, I know it gets overblown, but just be patient. I truly believe that news will definitely come out this week about who the Cardinals are going to bring in at wide receiver, at least one player that I'm thinking of. Let's go to the comments real quick. Let's see. How many more offensive linemen you think we're going to sign? The Cardinals are at 12 commitments right now. Overall, 3 of them offensive linemen. You do need a center. So I think at the very least 1. But you could see that number 2, maybe 3, because you just need depth. Jose says, are you feeling any better? Marginally, but I'm not going to mention it because people get upset when I do. Lane says Brody Foley, Gronk 2.0. Don't know if I go that far, but he's a very, very nice playmaker. Just Dan says, watch the pod daily. Dalton, first time catching alive. Great job. Appreciate that. 3 Shades says, who's the defensive coordinator? Again, I'm asking myself that same question. Truthfully, I think it's just going to be someone getting promoted. And if you made me guess without like true inside information, I'd probably tell you Mark Ivey would be at least the co-defensive coordinator. I'm going to listen to the pod, Lil Hurl says, but drop by for the algorithm. Hey, appreciate you a ton. Revelation says we still need a center. I think Skinner will be used as a wideout, possibly. Revelation also says we also got a stud tight end from Tulane. That's that Justin Reed guy that I was telling you about just a minute ago. They're saying Vandy for Cooper. Yeah, nothing has been confirmed yet. I was just kind of wishful thinking, trying to see if Louisville could get back involved with Cooper and try to get that visit. Walton says, rooting for Keenholz. Buckeye fan for sure. Hey, appreciate that a ton. Isn't Wink Martindale from Michigan available? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I know that we haven't really heard many external names at the moment about the defense. But speaking of the defense, we got good news on multiple fronts, not just the transfer portal, or let me say, not just additions from the transfer portal. We'll tell you about the good news when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville Live, your team every day. Let's be real. Card Nation, managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions that you forget about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing all of the control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees anyway? Well, that's where Rocket Money comes into play. The personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. So I don't have to go down hunting down my old passwords or customer service numbers, everything like that. The automatic transaction categorization is a game changer. I can actually see where my money is going each month. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join today at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Once again, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks so much for tuning into this live edition, very late night edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day and being a part of the Everydayer Club. It makes a a world of a difference when it comes to helping this show grow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment to the YouTube section below. But defensively, 4 pieces of good news, 3 additions in the portal, but there's an old saying, well, it's not really an old saying, it's a new saying, really, about sometimes the biggest victories that you can get in the portal are keeping your players. Paraphrasing there, but kind of sounds cooler when Louisville's coaches tweeted out. AJ Green is the latest Cardinal player to take their name out of the portal, and this is huge for the Cardinals pass rush. Cleve Lubin announced that he was returning. That's huge. Don't forget, Wesley Bailey has graduated. He's not playing college ball anymore. So you need to figure out, well, who's going to be alongside Lubin rushing the passer, and what better way than to continue to develop AJ Green, who had a breakout season in 2025. He had a career-high 31 tackles. He had 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and being 6'6", 250 pounds, the talent is all there. The measurables are all there. He's gotten the meaningful reps in 2025, and I think 2026 is going to be another year where he can see another respected breakout. So being able to keep him is huge. Being able to keep him is huge. Some comments, any intel on DeAndre Moore? At this point, I think it's trending away from Louisville. Nothing concrete, but it seems like it's kind of going all over the place. But from what I've heard, it might be trending away from Louisville, but don't quote me on that. That's just my intuition. Ivy might go away from the 4-3. New coach, new system. Hey, potentially there. I wonder about the 3-4 with Mark Ivy, but then again, who knows? Couple of commitments on Tuesday, most notably the twins from Kentucky, very highly rated players coming out of high school, out of the state of Kentucky, 2 4-stars, Jared Smith II and Jacob Smith. Now, Jared has been the one with more production through his first 2 seasons, 6'4", 275 pounds, plays on the defensive line. Now, I think, and again, it's going to depend on the scheme that you run, I think Jared Smith is best served as a 3-tech. I think that with the athleticism on the interior, it gives him the best opportunity to create those mismatches and give him an advantage. So I think Jared Smith as a 3-tech, you can unlock him, and he can be almost like your Jordan Gerard, Rene Congo level addition on the interior that might get overlooked because the production's not all the way there, even though he was a rotational player in 2025, had 27 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. I think Jared Smith could be, at the moment, my vote for like a unexpected guy to break out. Keeping Micah Carter was major. I know that there's rumblings about that, another route, but I haven't seen it yet. Has it become official? I might have missed it, but has it become official? While y'all answer that, Jacob Smith, his twin, who is listed as a linebacker, 6'4", 242, he is an edge rusher. Now, he has been hurt throughout his Kentucky career, so you're kind of banking in on the potential there more so than the production, but anytime you can add more depth to the pass rush, that's always nice, especially with a really talented player. Defensive lineman D'Amico Kennedy was the other defensive commit of the evening. He is from Lexington, so from the state of Kentucky, 6'2", 305 pounds, had a breakout season in 2025. He wasn't really a highly ranked recruit, but he played early at Purdue as a rotational guy. And then in 2025, 21 tackles, 1.5 sacks. I think he is a rotational depth piece for the Cardinals. Does he crack the 2 deep? There's, of course, a possibility. I'm not sure if he's a guy that I would pencil in as a starter at the moment. And, of course, it goes without saying, these are just my initial reactions. I still have to go back and dive into the film and really learn about these players, just like you all do, but haven't had much time. And as I mentioned, we have to stay up to date as much as we can on this show, because when you don't, you get 8 portal commitments in one day which I'm trying to think, like, what is the record? What's the record for portal commitments in one day? That's a really good question. I have no clue. I'm not even sure if there's a way you can look that up, but I think that they'd be kind of cool to look at. Macro Dub says, I think Adonijah Green likes trolling us. He gets in the portal every year. He did get in the portal last season as well and came back. So, hey, maybe he just likes the portal. Maybe just likes the portal. Yes, because of our new GM. Credit to Vince Marrow. Vince Marrow, from what I've been told, is spearheading a lot of these commitments that you saw today, especially the Kentucky guys. And it wouldn't surprise me if there was at least one more player that comes to Louisville from Kentucky in this transfer portal cycle. Shout out to Dan Furman, all of the boosters behind the scenes, donors behind the scenes, you name it. I mentioned this. Alignment is happening on Floyd Street, meaning that you talk about this word. Well, what does alignment really mean? It looks different in certain situations, like alignment between your athletic director and your football coach, but there's also alignment from the donor standpoint of being step and saying, you know what, this is where we're at. This is where we need to be. And credit to everybody in football ops for making this happen, because it's not easy what they're doing right now. They're trying to piece together a brand new team with a small amount of time to do it. So let's go through some comments before we start talking about basketball. This might be a weird question, but we need all these players in spring ball, so they need to be enrolled. When does the semester start? When is the drop ad day? So the semester starts tomorrow. To my understanding, from what I saw, the semester starts tomorrow, and the last drop ad day is next Friday to take classes in the spring at Louisville. So starts tomorrow on Wednesday. Well, I say tomorrow, that's in 6 minutes. It starts on Wednesday, and I believe the last drop ad day is next Friday. Not this upcoming Friday, but next Friday. Lane says, I'd like to keep Gordon and Mosby, but keeping Green, Brown, and Watts is incredible as is. Yes, and that's huge, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. There's a reason why Louisville has currently on 3 the number 5 ranked portal class, because on 3 factors in the guys going out, and Louisville getting their their top guys back helps out that class a ton. Let's see. Dalton, which position do you think now is our biggest need in the portal? It's wide receiver. Any idea on the basketball budget? How do you feel about next year's team currently? I think that they, at the moment, have upgraded the offensive line. I think that they've upgraded tight end. Defensive line, pass rush, TBD, running backs room. I think the running backs room is going to be better as long as they can stay healthy. The tight end, Foley, looks like a physical freak. Yes, he does. By the way, I have my own Facebook sports group. Yeah, check out Another Routes Facebook sports group. Appreciate the support. But that's the discussion on the good news. And got to warn you, we've got to have a very, very tough conversation about what happened tonight at the KFC Yum Center. Louisville loses to Duke 84-73 after holding on to a 9-point halftime lead, and feels like Groundhog Day once again. We'll discuss when we come back. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. I don't know if you all have seen that movie. I mean, it's a classic with Bill Murray, but I feel like I'm in that movie, basically saying, well, it's Groundhog Day once again, basically meaning that we're seeing the same thing once again. And it had all the makings of a really good Cardinal performance in the first half when you had Ali Khalifa shooting the ball really well from 3. Ryan Conwell opened up with 9 straight points. You had guys defending well. You had a double-digit lead for a good portion of the first half. And then in the second half, we saw the same team that played against Tennessee, that played the first half against Arkansas, and concerns me. It definitely concerns me, because what I saw, this is my reaction. I saw one team that made an adjustment and one team that didn't. Oh, man. Sorry about that. Spilled my water. I saw one team change up their defensive tendencies and their tactics, and I saw one team try to continue what they did in the first half, and when it didn't work, they tried to do it anyways. And that's the struggle. 3 games in a row versus Duke, where Louisville has had a halftime lead, and 3 games in a row where Duke has dominated the second half. Louisville had a 9-point lead at halftime in this game. 9-point lead, 47-38. They got outscored by 20 in the second half. How did that happen? Well, Louisville really couldn't buy a 3-point shot. They didn't get the looks that they were getting in the first half. Why was that? Because Duke started to guard Louisville's guards further up court. So when the ball is getting thrown in, they're either picking them up full court or picking them up half court. They're face guarding the back court, and Louisville didn't have an answer. It flustered the Cardinals. It frustrated them. It forced them to take ill-advised, off-balance 3-point shots early in the shot clock. Louisville really couldn't go inside. When they did, they were very indecisive. I understand. Sinan Defru being in foul trouble hurts. Not having your star point guard, Michael Brown Jr., hurts, especially when you consider that Ryan Conwell being the primary ball handler for almost 40 minutes a night is not the way to have long-term success. I think Conwell can be a ball handler, but when you force him to be your go-to scorer and your go-to creator with such high usage, you wear him down. You wear him down. But here's the thing. We're seeing the same issues, and I have done my very best not to overreact. Like, I'm not on the fire Pat Kelsey train. Please don't take what I'm saying as that. But I'm not going to sit here and just like this is a bad game, because it's a pattern. It was a pattern last year. It's a pattern this year. 2 things can be true at one time. It's true. Not having Michael Brown Jr. hurts. It's also true that the lack of adjustments when adversity hits is a little bit concerning. No? Like, you look at the games this season when you've played teams that are either as good or better than you on paper. Arkansas, Tennessee, and Duke, those 3 games. Those 3 teams played more physical than you, and it frustrated you offensively. It led to bad shot selection. The only difference between tonight and those 2 games is you shot well in the first half. And guess what? When the second half occurred, it was exactly what you saw against Arkansas and Tennessee. And that was when the 3-point shots weren't falling. You weren't able to manufacture consistent offense. And that has been my main concern with this team. This is an extremely talented team. There's just kind of no reason for this unit to get blown out as consistently as they have this year, which, again, it's only been 3 times, but that's kind of 3 times too many if you're talking about a team before the season that we all thought was a national championship contender. It is January 7th now, so you have 2 months to improve. But, guys, I got to see it. I got to see it. Pat Kelsey was great in his first year. He brought the energy back to the program. He exceeded expectations. I loved what he did his first year. The honeymoon period is over. It is. With a great first year means even larger expectations for year 2. You went out and you won the portal. You got your top guys. You went out and got a very, very good international player. You went out and got arguably the number 1 point guard in the high school class. And you brought back key players to this team. Injuries have hurt you, yes, but injuries happen. You have to be able to counteract it. And Louisville hasn't been able to do that when they're not shooting the 3-point shot well. So that's my question for Pat Kelsey moving forward. Again, I'm not sitting here on the fire Pat Kelsey train, but the noise is loud for the right reasons. The noise is loud. And it's the fact that, I mean, did we know that Kentucky was going to be as bad as they were when you beat them in early November? No. Did you think Indiana was going to be a little bit better this season when you beat them in Indianapolis in early December? Yeah. Unfortunately, at the moment, Pat Kelsey still doesn't have that signature victory. We haven't been able to see this team yet. And granted, we're just now in year 2, but you don't have a game where Louisville has beaten a better team on paper by way of winning the chess match and coaching. I'm not sitting here telling you that Pat Kelsey's a bad coach, but guys, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I'm seeing the same things. We have the same conversation every game. What Louisville team's going to show up? If they're hitting the threes, they can beat anybody in the country. You see that. They can blow anybody out in the country. But when they're not, it's like they just don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do. And that's what frustrates me, is that when things aren't working, when the threes aren't falling, the recipe for trying to fix that is shooting more threes. And I'm okay with taking your good looks from the perimeter, but you have to be a better offensive team, especially taking it to the basket. You've got the guys that can do it. It's just a matter of scheming it up. So it's still an emotional night for me, right? Like, I'm still kind of digesting that loss, but here we are, a 2-game losing streak, and I have the same questions. I have the same questions, and it doesn't seem like we're even getting close to getting any answers. So that's what I'm watching for Pat Kelsey. Somebody mentioned in the comments, have we ever ran a zone? I know that Pat Kelsey has pretty much said that he doesn't do that. Tonight, when Duke is just at will taking it to the basket, please try something different. That's just what I want to see, is Louisville trying something different and not trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Jacob says 8 straight loss to Duke. My gosh, didn't even realize that. But this does make me question the ceiling of this team in the tournament. It does, because last year you could get downhill. Chucky Hepburn and Terrence Edwards were really good at getting to the basket. So I'm not writing Pat off right now. I'm just saying that the noise and the criticism is loud, justifiably so. And it's up to Pat Kelsey to prove everyone wrong. So what do we need to see? We need to see a better on-ball defense. I think that's one thing. Louisville has to do a better job at defending, because Duke was just blowing by them almost every play in the second half. Number 2, they have to have an answer for when teams get up in their face and face guard them. 3, they have to learn how to deal with the physicality from opponents, because the script is out on Louisville. Like, the game plan is out. The blueprint's out. This is how you play Louisville. And when you play this way, they're going to follow it up by playing the exact same way. So number 4, make those adjustments. And I feel like we saw those adjustments last year, but it's like Pat Kelsey's really good at beating the teams that he's supposed to beat, but we really haven't seen that high caliber, big time signature victory. But things have to improve. Again, I'll reiterate it because someone's going to try to twist my words here because I'm being critical. I just don't see how you can't be critical. This is not just a bad second half. This is a pattern. This is a trend that we have to call it out for what it is. So, again, better on-ball defense, better or more adjustments. When three-point shots don't fall, more consistent offense being manufactured, and a better response to physicality and face guard defending. I still have faith in this coaching staff. I know the vibes. I know what you all are feeling right now because I feel it too. I feel like you got punched in the head and then you fell down and you got stomped. I feel that. I'm as angry as you all are. And I'm doing my very, very best to stay logical here and to stay in reality and understand that 2 losses doesn't doom a season and that there is still plenty of time to go and that you're hopefully, fingers crossed, going to get Michael Brown Jr. back in the next week. But if we're sitting here on March 7th and we still got to wonder about what Louisville's going to do offensively when their 3-point shots don't fall, that conversation is going to be even more challenging. So let's look at a couple comments before we call it a night. Babu says, I knew we were in trouble when we were shooting threes and only up 9.5. We should have been up a lot more. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that there. Another route says we definitely need to make better adjustments. Turnovers and fouls are killing us. Yes, turnovers. I think, look, the ACC officiating is terrible. I will agree with that. But some of this is that Louisville is not getting into position. They're not moving well laterally, and they're not in the right spot positioning-wise, and they're getting caught gambling or getting caught late to the shot contest and getting called for the fouls. Carlos says this team, as of now, will make it to the round of 32 and no further. Sad to say, unless Michael Brown comes back better than ever and the forwards play tougher inside. I mean, yeah, I thought that this was a second weekend team, and I still think you have the potential to get there. But if the 3-point shots aren't falling, very valid question. Carlos says Pat has this, and next year, if things don't improve considerably, I don't know how much of a leeway he has, how much patience he has. Let's see. Seth says, to be honest, I would feel worse about the loss if Brown played. I mean, you're not going to beat Duke without your best player. But here's the thing. Duke barely beat Florida State and Georgia Tech last week. You were up by 9 on them in the first half. If you make some adjustments, you can't tell me that that game is not a winnable game, in my opinion. I get what you're saying, but I think it's a very winnable game. I think the ship will get right when Michael comes back. The team just kind of goes one-dimensional when Michael isn't out there. I think Michael is very dynamic. When you allow Ryan Conwell to play off ball and Michael handling the basketball, it opens up a lot for everyone. But it's got to be more than just those 2 guys. Like, you need to see McNeely become more consistent. Like, if you wanted him to be your Urain Smith, well, he hasn't really shown that this year outside of maybe just a couple games. You got to get more production from your front court. Nice to see Case and Pryor play. Nice to see Kenai Roots have a good first half. But when they're sitting there and their offense is just shooting 3-pointers, you kind of got to wonder about, what the objective is. Jacob asked, bubble team at this rate? Not necessarily so sure about that unless they take a skid in the ACC, because the ACC is better. So you're going to have some more quality wins. I hate blaming refs because it's not just getting anywhere, but geez, this felt like a game at Cameron Indoor. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing other to say than that. Yeah. That is going to wrap up this live edition of the show. Appreciate you all tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video. Both help out the algorithm. Both help out helping the show grow. Be sure to leave a comment in the YouTube section below. Don't forget, share it with your friends, guys. Share it on social media. Be sure to tag me in the post, and I'll share it as well. It does a great job of bringing new eyes to the show, and the show was vastly more successful in 2025 than it was in any of the 3 years prior, or 4 years prior. My gosh. But that's going to wrap up this live edition of the show. We will have an episode on Thursday unless more important stuff drops. So everyone have a great day. Have a great night. We'll see you back here coming up on Thursday. Go Cards.